Hey everybody, welcome to the 2019 North American International Auto Show. I'm in the Toyota booth with a very special car and a very special guest. Along with me is Jack Hollis, a man of many titles, Group Vice President, General Manager, but most importantly, Team Captain for Toyota in North America. Jack, great to have you here. So excited. Finally, the debut of the most anticipated sports car in a very long time. 5th generation A90 Toyota Supra. For the folks at home, what do we need to know?
Well, most anticipated and kind of worst kept secret, maybe in history of any vehicle that Toyota's ever brought out.
Yep, agreed.
There's all kinds of things I could say. I think it's fun that the Supra is back.
Yes.
And having a icon of our company coming back into play is really important to us.
Yep.
I think for me, what you should know is where this car came from. It's heritage, 20 years since we've had this vehicle out.
Yep.
But it really comes from our president and CEO, Akio Toyoda.
Yes.
And you think about it, the guys whose name's on the back of every car passionately put his stamp of approval on this every step of the way.
Yep.
I think that's really the passionate master driver bringing out a passionate, wonderfully made vehicle. I'm excited about it. You know, and like you would expect, it's a Supra, so it's rear-wheel drive.
Yep.
Inline 6,
Yep.
Awesome 335 horsepower, 0 to 60 in just over 4 seconds. I can go on and on. The Supra's back.
Great. Yeah, I was actually surprised and stunned and very excited actually by Akio's presentation. He talked a lot about the development, about going to the Nürburgring, about working with his Skunk Works team, Gazoo Racing, and this being sort of the fruits of all that labor, as you said, rear drive, 2-seater, 335 horsepower, 365 pound-feet of torque.
Correct.
Twin scroll, single turbo, inline 6, which is very important because that's a key heritage point for Toyota.
Part of the DNA.
Part of the DNA. And also it's got to be a looker, and I think most people agree. Very swoopy, very sexy, really good execution of the FT1 concept that we saw here. Was it 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, 5 years
5 years ago.
Yeah, 2014, 5 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. So those are the specs. People at home are going to dissect them like crazy. Tell me though, what were some of the performance targets for the development of this vehicle? What other makes, models might your team have looked at?
So, and this sounds maybe not fair, but the performance target was emotional.
Oh, okay.
You're like, well, what do you mean? Well, I think every vehicle, they talk about how it can be fun, but we wanted a vehicle that would have the emotional appeal to take it on track and on road. And it's very difficult, and to do that. I think the other one is just this idea of fun to drive. So many times in the industry today, and especially as we see the transition much more towards SUVs and crossovers, it's lost some of the passion, though, of the actual driving dynamics of vehicles, and you know that, and you know better than I do. But and I tell you what, the production of this, the performance was, how do we create something that's so fun that people want to talk about getting back into a car and just ripping into a curve? And that's truly what it is.
Right. Now I do have to ask you, you had a development partner in the production of this vehicle. It's co-developed. Is that a good way to say it?
Sure.
It's worked. You guys worked with BMW.
Sure.
Primarily on things like the powertrain.
Yeah.
I've heard, and I've argued actually against it, that some people are saying, well, it's not pure because it's not a Toyota motor. But I would counter, Toyota hasn't had an inline 6 in production in a super long time.
That's right.
You know who has?
That's right.
BMW, and who's actually known for inline 6, also BMW.
And they're great at it.
Yes.
I mean, one of the things that's great in this is that Akio Toyoda, like I said, it's his passionate project. He's the one who came to the development with BMW, meaning there was like, listen, who's the best at doing this?
Right.
And I think sometimes there's that idea of pride in what you do. There's also that humility to say, how can we get better? Well, one of them is take our design, our tuning, our Toyota DNA, but going to a BMW and saying, let's like look at these engines. Would you want to partner? The fact that partnership has come together and produced a great inline 6, but really with the like you said, FT1 concept, and you look at where it's come from and to where it's been, it really harkens back to the original. I mean, I get excited about seeing how Toyota's DNA.
Yep.
I mean, it may not be our inline 6, but how about the fact that since the 67 2000 GT, go way back, it still has really that whole greenhouse, the whole canopy right there, and what it looks like harkens back to that. And we've continued to I don't know if you want to say improve upon it, but bringing out products like the the Scion FRS or the 86 and continuing today. It's been this idea of where that heritage started and continues to today, and I think that is the passion that Akio had and said, let's find a partner to even make it as best it can be.
Right, and you brought up FRS in '86. That was another co-production, successful. I think the point I've made is that given the state of the economy right now and how people are gravitating towards SUVs, without strong partnerships like this one, you probably would not have seen this car come to fruition. And you don't have to comment on that. I mean, but that's more of a statement on, two big companies, vested interest in building a cool sports car. Let's do it, man.
It's actually, it's good to comment on, because I think sometimes people look at how do partnerships work out. Partnerships work out when two partners say we want to do something that probably each individually wouldn't have done. And by doing so, it allows us to also bring out a product with a price point that actually works for everybody. Because otherwise, sometimes on that development on your own, that price point's here, and the customers might like it, but it's just a little out of reach. This is not.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. So people are dying to know at home, what's the price for one of these bad boys?
The price starts at $49,990. Now, we're not going to launch that first, the first ones are going to be this launch edition. We have 1,500 special units.
Yep.
So when you go from the $49,990, the premium edition is $53,990.
Got it.
And then for just a little bit more, about $1,300 more, you have this launch edition. And we're really excited about launching with a special series that actually has Akio Toyoda's signature engraved right into the product.
And you have a very special way you're launching that too. So can you talk about that?
Really, really proud of the fact that we're going to be launching, or the first one. It's the only one of its color. It's a Phantom matte gray color. It'll be at the Barrett-Jackson auction coming this Saturday night. And we've been looking forward to this. The fact that we can team up with Barrett-Jackson and do this is great. It'll be 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Saturday night.
In Scottsdale.
Scottsdale, Arizona.
Scottsdale, Arizona, which is Barrett-Jackson's. This is like the Super Bowl auction for them.
Absolutely.
MotorTrend's a partner. Toyota's partnering up to auction off this very, very special first edition Supra. Again, it's 8:30 Eastern time. You can watch it on MotorTrend channel, live on cable. Also, you can watch it on our app if you download the MotorTrend app. So please do that. Or if you can attend Scottsdale in person, it's a can't miss opportunity. And I think we have some video we're going to throw to that talks about it.
Perfect.
All right. Okay. So, what else do people need to know about the Supra?
Well, I got to tell you about a lot of the Supra, but as you're checking this video, it's really important for me to let you know that these auctions are so important, not just for the popularity of the vehicle, but really with the auction, donation is a portion of this. So the proceeds of this vehicle are going to be split between two critical groups. One being the Bob Woodruff Foundation. That's a group that supports veterans and their families. It's critical for them, as well as the American Heart Association, and we're really excited to partner with them at Barrett-Jackson. So I could tell you a lot about the Supra, but it's important that we also talk about how that first purchase is going to go a long way. But about the Supra, well, I could talk all day about it, because on that special edition, on that Barrett-Jackson one, you're going to have red mirror caps, red leather interior, a black matte wheel, as well as it's also going to have a signature. Akio Toyoda has signed the first one, the engine cover.
Right.
And you can have it put on the vehicle itself, or keep it home and frame it and whatever. So there's kind of a little specialty going on with that product. So
and I think maybe we heard Fernando Alonso, who's a special guest here, he might have signed one as well. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. You got to keep some things secret.
Look at that. Okay. So we actually have another guest. We want to get on in here. You've driven the car a little bit.
Yeah, but my driving experience, my driving ability is way less than the next gentleman. Let me introduce him, Mr. Frederick Asbo, and thank you, everybody.
Frederick, get on in here. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
So we chatted earlier, Frederick. For those of you who don't know, Frederick, how could that be? Top flight Formula D drift driver, world champion, ice races, owner of actually 3 A80 previous generation, 4th generation Supras, so sort of a super subject matter expert. You drove this thing at Jarama Circuit in Spain, did some demo drift driving. How was it?
I absolutely love the car. And I mean, nail on head, I'm a Supra lover as big as they get. I started drifting in a Supra Mark IV or an A80 10, 11 years ago. And we shipped that car to the United States, to Long Beach, did our first world championship there. I became Rookie of the Year in the Formula Drift Championship in a Supra. Yep. I built my girlfriend a drift Supra. Like you said, I'm jumping Supras on frozen lakes. I love the car to death. So for me, getting that call from Toyota last year and being invited to Spain to be one of the first people in the world to drive the car, it was a big moment. Yeah. And I had really big expectations for the car.
Yeah. Well, what's great is now you are a sponsored driver. You got Toyota on your shirt. But in our conversation we had, you mentioned that, look, the 4th gen wasn't perfect. This was not, it had some deficiencies. It takes a lot to get it to drift, right?
Yeah, one of the first things that we would do to the Mark IV to make it drift well was to speed up the steering. Right. You know, the engine is great in the Mark IV, the 2JZ engine. I mean, every Supra enthusiast out there loves that engine. Yep. It's a very stable car, very robust, built really well. But it didn't have that super sporty feel. Now driving the Mark V, the A90 on track, is a totally different animal. And I think my favorite part of the new 2020 Supra is that it retains a lot of the DNA from the Mark IV. It still has that straight 6 turbo whine, that engine noise, and at the same time, it's even sportier.
Right. And you said no fancy tricks needed. You know, defeat the stability and traction control, and you can go sideways.
Absolutely. I mean, we took the car on track there. The first turn, I was sideways. And Jarama is a great track to test the car at, simply because there's a lot of banking and elevation changes, so you can really test the differential lock. And the car was flawless. It really was. And, you know, jumping into the car, it's like you wrap it around you. It really is a cockpit. It feels like a jet fighter with that center-mounted tack, and it really is a driver-centric vehicle.
Awesome. So, last question: which color would you take? I think you mentioned it.
Yeah, it's a hard pick. You know, the red, the Renaissance red it's a classic color, right? But I think I would pick that Phantom Gray. I mean, I heard you guys talk about the auction on Saturday, and that first vehicle is going to be, I mean, it'd be a dream, right? Yep. To own something like that. Yep. But the Phantom Gray is probably my pick. It really shows off the lines of the car, you know, the hips, and
maybe you'll put your money down.
Absolutely. Where do I sign?
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you, Frederick, for coming on. Thank you guys for watching, and once again, please tune in to Barrett Jackson Scottsdale Auctions Saturday, 8:30 Eastern Time, for the auction of the very first 2020 Toyota Supra. You can watch it live on television on the MotorTrend channel, or you can download MotorTrend's app. Thank you so much for joining us. Supra, very cool.
Supra's back.
Supra's back.